Meanwhile, residents in Kyiv have spent a very long and a very anxious night. There have been reports of explosions and air raid sirens blaring and people rushing into their bunkers. The President Volodymyr Zelensky believes that Russian forces will attack the capital city with greater ferocity throughout the night. And he's also said that Russia is hoping to capture Kyiv as soon as it can.
В фронтах цієї ночі ворог застосує усі наявні у них сили, щоб зламати наш опір. Підло, жорстко і не по-людськи. Цієї ночі вони підуть на штурм. Всі ми маємо розуміти, що нас чекає. Цієї ночі маємо вистояти. Доля України вирішується саме зараз. Просто немає і не може бути такої правди, яка б могла би пояснити, чому обстрілюють з реактивної артилерії дитячі садочки та житлову інфраструктуру. У Ворзелі Київської області били градами по дитячому будинку. По Охтирці, Сумська область, били ураганами. Під обстрілом були житлові квартали, укриття, дитячі садочки. Що це за війна проти українських дітей в дитячому садку? Хто вони? Вони теж неонацисти.
Now, currently, the Ukrainian troops are defending their positions on all fronts of the city, despite being outgunned and outranged and outnumbered. Now, the city of Kyiv is said to have a population of almost about 4.5 million people, about 45 lakh people. And it's been divided into different sectors. One that have been packed with their bags and fleeing towards the west in fear, and the other who've taken up arms to defend their city. According to reports that have come in, at least about 18,000 guns have been distributed to the reservist forces in the Kyiv region alone. The country has banned all male citizens in the age group of 18 to 60 years from leaving the country. Women, children and the elderly have been allowed to move to safer positions. Late night, President Volodymyr Zelensky, along with other top government officials, were out on the streets. They vowed to defend Ukraine's independence. Listen in to what they've had to say.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Now, people in Kyiv have been told to, in fact, prepare and keep Molotov cocktail, that is effectively petrol bombs, ready in case of street fighting. We're also getting reports that there are artillery rounds and intense gunfire that's been reported from the western part of the city of Kyiv. After weeks of warnings from Western leaders, Russian President Vladimir Putin has unleashed a multi-pronged invasion into Ukraine. From the north, the east and the south, from virtually 4 different directions, Russian troops have been pouring into Ukraine, taking up positions and also battering key port cities and also some of the major cities in Ukraine. The invasion is threatened to upend Europe's post-Cold War order. Now, every war eventually boils down to the question of logistics. How many troops can a nation deploy? How many battalions? What kind of armoured vehicles? How much artillery? Defence spending? The technology that the troops have at their disposal? All of this is what determines the outcome in a war. And all of this also gives an idea as to how the odds are stacked and which side they are tilted in. So let's take a look in terms of the numbers. How do both Russian and Ukrainian sides compare? Now, according to the 2022 Global Firepower Index, Russia has a military spending of about $61 billion. That is almost about 11.4% of its total government spending. In comparison, Ukraine spends about $5.9 billion on its armed forces. Now, speaking of manpower that the two nations can deploy, Russia has 900,000 active personnel. At this point of time, it is said to have deployed almost about 200,000 personnel along the borders in Ukraine, while the total army of Ukraine has just about 209,000 soldiers. Russia has 2 million reserve personnel as well, while Ukraine is about 900,000 as we speak. In terms of artillery and heavy military range weapons, Russia is about 7,571, while Ukraine has only about 2,040. When it comes to armored vehicles, Russia can field as many as about 30,000 armored vehicles, while Ukraine can field only about 12,303. Russia again has the edge, clear edge in terms of the tanks, the primary offensive weapon of any army. It is over 12,420 tanks in comparison to 2,596 tanks that Ukraine can deploy. When it comes to attack helicopters, Russia has about 544 of them, while Ukraine is said to have just got about 34. And lastly, the fighter aircraft, the most potent weapon in air-to-air combat. Russia again outguns and outranks Ukraine here. It has over 1,500 fighter jets, while Ukraine has about 98 in its arsenal. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.